You are living in a timeline, but what you do not see is that countless other versions of reality are vibrating alongside you. They exist right next to you, separated only by a frequency, like invisible doors waiting to be opened. Each door is a different life, a different result, a different future ready for you to step into. Yet people keep repeating the same loop, the same tired story, the same disappointment that seems endless. The truth is they believe they have tried their best, that they have affirmed enough, prayed enough, acted enough, but all of it only to return to the starting point. The cause is not destiny, and it is not bad luck. It is that they unconsciously broadcast the same signal, the same vibration, the same old rhythm. You may think you want change, but in truth, you still feed the old timeline every day. When you wake up, you carry the same familiar breath, the same familiar habits, the same familiar emotions. You say you want freedom, but your body still vibrates in fear. You say you want love, but your heart stays closed because of old wounds. You say you want wealth, but every cell in your body still contracts whenever you think about bills or financial responsibility. And the quantum field does not listen to what you say. It listens to the real signal your whole system transmits. Parallel reality is not distant. It is always here. The version of you who is healthy, happy, prosperous, and free already exists in another timeline. The version of you who is powerful and creative is also waiting in the field of possibility. But you step into it only when your entire system signals harmony with it. If you broadcast the old frequency, you will keep sliding on the same loop like an old song repeating until it wears out the ear. Look straight at this truth. You are not bound by fate. You are not cursed by destiny. You are only held by your own familiar vibration, emotional habits, thinking habits, reactive habits. These are what keep you in the old timeline, not anything else. And this is why millions want change, but only a few truly shift. What traps people is the illusion that change comes from the outside. They think that if the job changes, they will be happier. If a new relationship appears, they will be more loved. If there's more money, they will feel safer. But the quantum field does not work that way. It does not respond to what you want, it responds to what you are. And if you are still the old version, you will attract the same experiences, only wrapped in a different cover. You need to understand that your loop is not a punishment, it is a mirror. It shows you clearly the signal you are broadcasting. If you see lack, that is a sign you are still vibrating in the energy of lack. If you meet the old pain in a new form, it is because you have not changed the frequency in the subconscious. The timeline only reflects your degree of coherence. It does not take sides, it does not pity, it does not favor, it only reflects. Parallel reality is an ocean of possibilities. In that ocean, each current is a life. Each vibration is an invitation to step through a door. The more you cling to the old vibration, the deeper you are pulled into the familiar current. Then you ask why nothing changes. But the truth is, nothing is stuck except you. You are stuck because you agree to stay in the same frequency. You are stuck because you call what is familiar safe. The hardest part is not wanting a new future. It is daring to stop feeding the old. People fear the unknown, and the subconscious will choose familiar pain over stepping into an untested possibility. That is why you keep being pulled back even when you say you want to move forward. You do not want the old timeline, but your body and your nervous system are still addicted to it. They are addicted to anxiety, addicted to the loop of fear, addicted to tension, addicted to the familiar script. So the first step is not to run and look for something new. It is to see how you collude with the old. Each time you react the way you used to, you are voting for the old timeline. Each time you retell the old story, you are feeding the old timeline. Each time you repeat the old expectation, you are locking yourself inside it. And at this point, you need a clear and sober look. You do not need to believe in miracles. You do not need to force yourself into fake optimism. You only need to accept that countless realities already exist, and what decides which one you enter is the frequency you choose to transmit right now. You are not stuck because of someone out there. You are stuck because you have not stopped energizing your own loop. When you truly stop feeding it, when you dare to hold your energy for your new version, the old timeline will unravel by itself and a new door will open. This is a truth few are willing to face. You do not need to beg for a new reality because it already exists. You only need to stop colluding with the old signal and choose a new vibration. Parallel reality is not a theory, it is a basic law. When you change the signal, you change the timeline. When you change the frequency, you change your life. And your first step begins with acknowledging that you are the one keeping yourself in the illusion of being stuck. Take a moment to pause and ask yourself, how many times have you stood in front of the mirror repeating positive affirmations, believing that if you said them enough times, your life would change? How many times have you written down pages full of dreams, taped them to the wall, and then waited for a miracle to appear? And how many times after all of those efforts did you still find yourself back at the starting point, still struggling with financial worries, with loneliness, with the hollow feeling that reality has not shifted? This is where the truth must be spoken. The quantum field does not hear what you say, it does not react to what you wish for, it only responds to the real signal your entire system is transmitting. If you say, I am abundant, but every time you pay a bill, your body contracts in fear, the signal sent to the universe is not abundance, but lack. If you affirm, I am worthy of love, but your heart is still closed from fear of being hurt, the quantum field only recognizes loneliness. If you declare, I am successful, but inside you are filled with doubt and self-diminishment, then the signal you broadcast is never success. It is only a loop of insecurity. Let me ask you something, and I truly hope you will share honestly in the comments below. What is your deepest desire right now? Which reality are you longing for? Which timeline are you hoping to step into? Do not hesitate to leave a sign, a short message, so I know you are here, so I know I am not speaking alone into the vast emptiness. Your presence, the small words you leave behind, are precious to someone creating content like me. I am grateful for your attention, grateful for your presence in this journey, and most of all, grateful that you dare to name your own dream. Because when you write it out, when you dare to admit it, that signal is no longer only in your mind, it is spoken, it becomes a concrete vibration. And remember, it is vibration that shapes reality. Not the words you repeat every day, but the frequency you actually transmit through your body, through your emotions, through the beliefs buried deep in your subconscious. System frequency is the way your entire being resonates. It is not only thought, it is the combination of heartbeat, breath, posture, emotions, memories, beliefs, and unconscious reactions. It is like a full piece of music, and the universe only hears the overall melody, not the single trumpet you try to blow as loudly as you can. This is why the dominant signal is always stronger than the shout of your conscious mind. You may repeat, I am wealthy thousands of times, but if deep inside you still feel insecure, then the signal you send is insecurity, not wealth. The reality you are living today is not the result of what you want, it is the result of what you continuously broadcast. The quantum field is not biased, it only mirrors your coherence. If you vibrate in lack, the reality you receive will continue to be lack. If you vibrate in fear, the reality you receive will continue to create more situations that make you afraid. And if you vibrate in safety, love, gratitude, then the quantum field will have no choice but to reflect them back to you. This means you cannot fool the universe. You cannot pretend to be optimistic. You cannot force a smile while inside you are drowning in panic. The quantum field only hears the real signal. It does not care about the mask. Coherence is the key. Only when body, mind, and emotion all transmit the same frequency will you truly shift the timeline. And what matters most is that you must recognize the difference between desire and vibration. Desire comes from the conscious mind, but vibration comes from the whole system. Consciousness makes up only a small part of the energy you transmit, while the body and the subconscious generate the majority of the signal. That is why affirmations alone are not enough. You need embodiment. You need to live as if it has already happened. You need to let every cell in your body believe that what you want is present right now. So ask yourself again, what signal are you transmitting each day? Not what you are saying, but what you are truly feeling, what you are truly believing, what you are truly expecting. That is the real answer. And once again, I invite you to leave your desire in the comments. Write down the reality you want to enter. It does not have to be long. Just a few words are enough. Because when you do that, you are not only communicating with me, you are also communicating with the quantum field itself. You are sending out a new signal, a first step to break free from the old loop, and I will read those shares with deep gratitude because they remind me that we are walking this path together. I am not only speaking into emptiness, I have you, real and alive, with true dreams, with true longing. That is not only joy, it is the energy that keeps me creating these messages. So let me know what you desire and let yourself hear your own heart more clearly. Quantum shift is not a magic trick that takes you from nothingness to a new world. It is the process of wave collapse into a version that already exists. In the language of quantum physics, all possibilities vibrate simultaneously in an infinite potential field, where every scenario of your life is already present, from failure to victory, from scarcity to abundance, from loneliness to fulfilled love. The issue is not to create, but to choose and collapse into a specific possibility through the frequency you emit. Every moment in your life is like a crossroad. Every decision, every belief, every vibration slides you into a specific timeline. When you understand this, you realize that you are not bound to a single outcome. At any moment, you are standing among countless parallel possibilities, only waiting for you to step into with the right signal. And this is the truth that most of humanity misses. They believe that reality has only one version and that they must accept the built-in limitations. But reality is only waiting for a coherent signal from you to collapse into a concrete form. The mechanism of collapse, or the collapse of the probability wave, is the foundation of the entire concept of quantum shift. In physics, when a particle is in a superposition, it is not one single state, but all states coexisting. When there is observation, the probability wave collapses and a specific state is chosen. In your life, observation does not come only from your eyes, but from the entire signal system you emit. Your mind, emotions, beliefs, and body are the observer. They choose the timeline through frequency resonance. This means that any result you desire, from happiness to wealth, from peace to success, already exists as a possibility in the quantum field. You do not have to search, you do not have to wait, you only need to emit the right frequency to collapse into it. This is not an illusory promise. It is a truth affirmed by some of the greatest minds in history. Nikola Tesla once said, "If you want to understand the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration." Numbers like 3, 6, 9 are not superstition, they are symbols of rhythm, of organization, of structure upon which reality is formed. 3, 6, and 9 are seen as codes, as fundamental frequencies that the entire universe resonates with. They symbolize balance and cycles. Many thinkers believe that when you harmonize with these frequencies, you are stepping into the flow of the fundamental structure of reality. That is why people say 3 is the beginning, 6 is the expansion, and 9 is the completion. This is not coincidence. It is a principle observed through nature, mathematics, and sacred geometry. Imagine reality as a vast orchestra, where all possibilities are already existing compositions. You cannot force the orchestra to play a piece that has never existed. But you can choose the channel, choose the melody, choose the song that aligns with the frequency you emit. And when you emit the right frequency, the cosmic orchestra has no choice but to reflect it back to you. This is collapse, the moment when the invisible wave falls into a tangible experience. But for collapse to occur, coherence must be maintained. If you only want something in your mind, but your body and emotions vibrate in the opposite way, then the signal sent will be chaotic and the quantum field will only continue to reflect that chaos. When you understand this mechanism, you will see clearly why affirmation is not enough, why desire is not enough, and why pretending to be optimistic is not enough. Everything only changes when you truly become the version that already exists in the potential field. Tesla and other great minds remind us that the universe is not meaningless chaos. It operates according to rhythm, according to frequency, according to a structure so intricate that everything obeys it. Even your emotions, thoughts, and actions are waves of energy, and they are governed by this law. When you grasp this truth, you begin to see your life differently. Instead of asking how to get what you want, you will ask how to harmonize with its frequency. The quantum mechanism is not biased. It does not reward or punish. It simply reflects honestly the signal you emit. If you vibrate in lack, collapse will choose the timeline of lack. If you vibrate in fear, collapse will choose the timeline of anxiety. If you vibrate in gratitude and safety, collapse will choose the timeline of abundance and love. The truth is that simple and that powerful. You do not need to control the universe. You only need to learn how to align with it. And once you truly do, you will realize that quantum shift has never been about forcing or begging, but simply about choosing the right frequency. And when you choose correctly, the wave collapses, the new reality opens, and you step into a version of yourself that has always been waiting for you in the potential field. Imagine you are standing before an endless mist, and within that mist exist millions of different possibilities for your life. There is a version of you that is successful, a version of you that is happy, a version of you that is free, and countless other versions. The question is, which version will become reality? And the answer lies in the observer. Quantum physics has shown that a probability wave only collapses into a specific state when there is observation. In the laboratory, the observation is a measuring device, but in your life, the observation is your consciousness and your energy system. Yet, here is the truth that few are willing to face. Most of your life is not chosen by conscious awareness, but by the subconscious, by emotional memories, by beliefs that have been deeply imprinted. Neuroscience affirms that 95% of human behavior is controlled by the subconscious. This means that most of the choices, reactions, and habits you perform every day do not come from your free will, but from a storage of memories, habits, and emotions programmed from the past. You may think you are choosing, but in reality, you are repeating an old pattern. This is the reason why many people change jobs, change environments, change partners, yet still fall into the same emotional scripts, the same familiar loops. It is not the world outside that traps them. It is their own subconscious that observes reality and repeatedly selects the same timeline. The true observer is not the small conscious part repeating positive affirmations. The true observer is the entire subconscious system, the emotional map, the memories imprinted in the body, and the nervous system. When a probability wave of countless possibilities appears, it is this subconscious that decides which state it collapses into. And if your subconscious is still haunted by fear, still addicted to lack, still attached to painful scripts, then the wave will continue to collapse into corresponding timelines. Notice the times you try to affirm that you are strong. Yet when a challenge arises, your body tightens, your heart races, and your entire system sends signals of fear. In that moment, you think you are choosing strength, but in truth, the inner observer has chosen fear. You may repeat that you are wealthy, but each time you think about money, memories of scarcity, pressure, and anxiety return, and the inner observer immediately collapses the wave into the timeline of lack. This is the conflict between the 5% of consciousness and the 95% of the subconscious. This explains why so many people know the theory, understand the concepts, master the methods, yet still cannot shift. They read books, attend seminars, listen to hundreds of videos, but after all, they still repeat the same loop. Not because they are lazy or lack desire, but because they have not changed the inner observer. They still observe reality with the eyes of the old subconscious, through the filter of old experiences, and as an inevitable consequence, the old timeline keeps collapsing into familiar experiences. Think of the brain as a forest, where neural pathways have been carved over the years. Each time you react the same way, a path deepens, and when a path becomes too familiar, the brain automatically chooses it instead of opening a new route. This is how the subconscious maintains familiarity, even when that familiarity causes you pain. To the subconscious, familiarity means safety, and safety is more important than happiness. That is why you may know clearly what is good for you, yet still choose the old way. When you understand the crossroad between quantum physics and neuroscience, you see why change does not come from the surface. You cannot simply think differently for a few minutes and expect the whole system to shift. You need to reprogram the subconscious to let the body and nervous system experience new frequencies so the inner observer begins to choose different timelines. This is not a process that happens in one instant, but it is entirely possible when you know how to bring the system back into coherence. The inner observer is always active, whether you are aware of it or not. And that is why you must become conscious not only of your thoughts, but of your entire state. You must pay attention to how your body reacts, to subtle emotional signals, to the stories you keep repeating to yourself. Because all of these resonate into a unified frequency. And that frequency is the real I looking into the quantum field. To choose your timeline. When you want something new, you must ensure that the inner observer also wants it. This means you need to heal old memories, release trapped emotions, and reprogram beliefs that have limited you for too long. Then the subconscious will no longer keep you locked in the old timeline, but will begin to choose new timelines. And this is the key to all lasting transformation. You cannot step into a new reality if the inner observer is still addicted to the old one. You cannot live in love if the subconscious is still tied to the fear of abandonment. You cannot walk into wealth if the nervous system is still accustomed to scarcity. The inner observer is the gatekeeper of every timeline, and you only shift when you change the gatekeeper itself. Remember this. Your conscious mind can dream, can wish, can imagine, but the subconscious is the one making the final choice. Until you bring the inner observer into a new state, you will continue to live in a copy of the past. But when you succeed, when the subconscious begins to choose differently, you will see new timelines unfold, and your life will change in ways you never thought possible. You once blamed yourself for being lazy. You once thought the reason you did not change was because you lacked determination, lacked motivation, lacked discipline. But the truth is not that. Even when you truly want to be different, there is an invisible force that keeps you in the same place. It makes you stand still, even though in your heart you long to move forward. It drags you back into old habits, even though you know clearly they are destroying you. That invisible force has a name: resistance. And you need to understand that resistance is not laziness. It is the nervous system's sophisticated addiction to familiarity. Your body is programmed to treat familiarity as safety, even when that familiarity is filled with pain. To the nervous system, the feeling of what is already known, though unpleasant, is still more comfortable than stepping into the unknown. This means that the moment you decide to step into a new reality, your body will immediately treat it as a threat. It sends warning signals, it creates anxiety, it makes you procrastinate, and in the end, it pulls you back to the old. This is the most dangerous deception because you think you are not good enough, but in reality, it is only your nervous system not yet used to the new. Resistance does not appear in clear forms. It is subtle, disguised under reasonable masks, so clever that you do not notice. Sometimes it shows up as procrastination. You tell yourself you need more time, more preparation, more knowledge before acting. Sometimes it wears the mask of reason. You overanalyze. You compare too long, and in the end, every opportunity passes in silence. At times, it turns into extreme productivity. You stay busy endlessly, doing dozens of small tasks to avoid the one that truly matters. And often, it disguises itself as the voice of reason, telling you to be realistic, to be safe, to choose the path of less risk. But all of these faces are resistance. All are ways the body protects the old. Remember, the body does not care if you are happier, freer, or more successful. It only cares about survival. And to survive, it clings to familiarity. Therefore, when you say you are ready to change, but your body is still sending signals of danger, then reality receives that signal. The quantum field does not listen to your declarations. It only listens to the frequency of your entire system. If your body vibrates in fear, the real signal sent out is fear. This explains why many people know exactly what they need to do, but they cannot do it. Not because they lack knowledge, but because when facing a new action, the nervous system immediately sends alarm signals. It makes your heart race, your palms sweat, your mind create countless reasons to back out, and you believe those reasons are real, while in fact they are only the body's way of maintaining familiarity. This is the great deception of resistance, making you believe you are not good enough, when in truth you are only being pulled back by survival mechanisms. Observe yourself in decisive moments. You will see resistance appear the moment you intend to step into a new zone. You may feel it in your body as a tension, a contraction, a small voice whispering that you should wait, that you should think more. If you are not alert, you will miss out again. And when this repeats often enough, you think you are useless. But the truth is, you just have not broken through this layer of resistance yet. So what must you do? The first step is to recognize resistance instead of mistaking it for laziness. When you see yourself procrastinating, overanalyzing, or being pointlessly busy, stop and ask yourself, is this just the body protecting the old? When you see yourself afraid of a new step, recognize that it is not a sign you are wrong, but only a sign your nervous system is not yet familiar with expansion. Recognition is the first step, so you will not be deceived anymore. The next step is to gradually familiarize yourself with the new state, to give the nervous system a chance to experience a different frequency without being overwhelmed. You do not need to jump straight into big changes. You only need small steps so the body learns to feel safe in the new. Each small action is like reprogramming the system, teaching it that the new is no longer dangerous. When the body begins to believe this, resistance will lessen, and you will see yourself freer to step into the new timeline. Resistance is not the enemy. It is only an outdated protection mechanism. It once helped you survive in the past, but now it prevents you from living fully. The important thing is not to fight it, but to observe it, understand it, then gently move past it. When you can do this, you will no longer be stuck in the illusion that you are weak, but will see clearly that change has always been within your reach. You need to remember, each time you face and move past resistance, you not only come closer to the new timeline, but also expand your own freedom. Because when the body is no longer limited by familiarity, you can choose any reality the quantum field is already holding for you. And this is the turning point where you are no longer controlled by resistance, but become the one who truly controls reality. There is a truth that if you truly absorb, you will look back on your entire journey with a completely different perspective. Quantum shift has never been about wanting more, craving more, or affirming more. It is not the endless desire spoken out in words, but becoming. You do not step into a new timeline by waiting for evidence to appear. You step into it by living as if you are already there. And when your entire system is truly attuned to that version, the quantum field has no choice but to reflect the corresponding reality. Embodiment is the key. It is not an abstract idea, but full presence in the vibration you want to become. When you say you are abundant, but you still spend money with fear, you are not embodying. When you say you want love, but your heart is still closed, you are not embodying. When you say you are healthy, but you still care for your body with doubt and neglect, you are not embodying. Embodiment means living fully in the new frequency, even when the outside world shows no proof. Imagine you want to live in abundance. Embodiment is not reckless spending to prove something, but spending with the trust that money always circulates, that you are always supported. You pay your bills with gratitude instead of contraction. You invest in yourself with trust instead of fear. The shift here is not about the amount of money, but about how your body reacts in every small action. And when your entire body becomes accustomed to the frequency of trust and abundance, you have stepped into the timeline of wealth. If you want love, embodiment means letting your heart soften even when the past made it shut down. It is daring to open up in conversations, daring to give kindness, daring to receive the presence of another without rushing to build walls of defense. It is the courage to practice connection, even though the fear of hurt still lingers in memory. When your heart vibrates in openness, the quantum field can only reflect love back to you. If you want health, embodiment is not waiting until your body is healed before living like a healthy person. It is caring for your body as if it has already recovered. It is eating with appreciation, moving with gratitude, resting with love. It is stopping the view of your body as a flaw to be fixed and starting to treat it as a friend already ready to be well. When your body feels that appreciation, it sends out signals of recovery, and the timeline of health collapses into reality. The key point is that you do not wait for evidence to believe. You believe first, and then evidence appears. This is the paradox most people cannot overcome. They say, when I have money, I will feel safe. When I have love, I will open my heart. When I am healthy, I will love myself. But the universe does not respond to promises of later. It only responds to the frequency of now. If you are still waiting, you are still vibrating in lack. If you still place conditions, you are still locked in the old timeline. Embodiment is the unspoken declaration that I already am. And this declaration is not in words, but in every gesture, every breath, every sensation in your body. It is the way you walk, the way you communicate, the way you respond. When your entire system is synchronized with a new version, you no longer need to prove or force anything because the quantum field can only reflect who you are. Think of embodiment as a bridge between present and future. When you step onto this bridge, you no longer stand on this side waiting for the other side to come closer. You have stepped in, and the very act of walking makes the new timeline become reality. And this is why embodiment is stronger than any affirmation. It is not about what you say, but how you live. But remember, embodiment does not mean pretending. It is not forcing yourself to live differently to prove something to others. It is the inner shift, the true alignment of mind, emotions, and body. If you only pretend, the quantum field will still hear the dissonance, and the old timeline will continue to reflect only when the change begins from within. When your body believes, when your heart believes, when your subconscious believes, does embodiment become real? So the important question is not what you want, but who you are ready to become. Are you willing to act, think, and feel like the new version even when the outside world has not yet changed? Are you willing to spend money like someone abundant, love like someone already loved, care for yourself like someone already healthy? If the answer is yes, you have already begun the shift. And when you are truly steadfast with embodiment, the old timeline will have no place, it will dissolve, and the new timeline will open as an inevitable consequence. There is a common misconception that causes many people to lose faith in the journey of shifting reality. They believe that change only comes from a dramatic explosion, a decisive moment, a grand leap that turns everything upside down overnight. They wait for a special day, a great sign, a miracle from the universe. But the truth is, the universe does not respond to rare moments. It responds to the consistent frequency you emit every single day. And it is the small actions, repeated with full presence, that build the bridge, carrying you from the old timeline to the new one. Microalignment means micro-synchronization. The tiny but complete things, the simple choices that carry clear energy. It could be just 3 conscious breaths before you react. It could be just 1 sentence spoken from the new self instead of the old self. It could be just 1 small action done with full presence. And these micro fragments form the solid foundation upon which the new timeline is built. You may think that 3 breaths cannot change your life, but 3 breaths are the difference between the old reaction and the new reaction. Just by pausing, inhaling, and exhaling with awareness, you break the automatic chain of subconscious reflexes. You cut off the familiar current and open a gap where a new choice can be made. And it is in that tiny gap that the new timeline begins to collapse into reality. You may think that 1 sentence has no real power, but if that sentence comes from the embodied version of yourself, it carries a completely different frequency. When you speak from trust instead of fear, from openness instead of defense, from abundance instead of lack, that sentence becomes a new signal sent out, and the quantum field only needs 1 clear signal, repeated long enough to select the corresponding timeline. You may think that 1 small action makes no difference, but the small action is the unspoken declaration. When you pour yourself a glass of water with gratitude, when you pay a bill with trust, when you open your heart in a short conversation, each of these actions sends a powerful message that you already are. And there is no declaration more convincing than living as if the new timeline is already real. What matters is not that you never slip, but that you return quickly whenever you fall into the old loop. The old timeline does not disappear in a day. It will always try to pull you back. But the real power lies in your ability to notice and return. Every time you awaken and choose to come back, you strengthen the new timeline. Like walking on a path through the woods, the more times you walk it, the clearer it becomes. And eventually, it turns into the default road. Look at the nature of habits. No one builds a habit with a single action. Habits are built by tiny repetitions day after day. And in the same way, you do not build a new timeline with 1 burst of excitement, but with countless micro choices repeated consistently. This is the true power of microalignment, the persistence of small but steady actions. On this journey, there is a special catalyst that accelerates the entire process, and that is gratitude. Gratitude is not just a pleasant feeling, it is a powerful frequency that sends the signal of already having. When you are truly grateful, you do not vibrate in lack, you vibrate in fullness. You are not begging for a new reality, you are affirming that it is already here. And this forces the quantum field to mirror that abundance back to you. Gratitude transforms small actions into sacred rituals. When you breathe with gratitude, the breath is no longer just the exchange of air. It becomes synchronization with life. When you speak with gratitude, your words become a complete signal. When you perform a small action with gratitude, the action shines, carrying the energy of abundance. And that abundance is the clearest invitation for the new timeline to appear. You can try it right now. Choose 1 small action and do it with presence and gratitude. Pour a glass of water, but instead of doing it unconsciously, pour as if you are offering it to your highest self. Take 3 breaths, but instead of breathing mechanically, breathe with the gratitude that you are alive, that you have the chance to choose again. Say 1 sentence, but instead of repeating mechanically, speak from the state of the one who has already become. You will feel the difference in your body. When these small actions are repeated, they weave a new melody for your whole system. And that melody is the clear signal sent to the quantum field. No need for noise, no need for drama, no need for show. Just consistency, just completeness, just alignment. And then the wave collapses. The new timeline appears. Because the universe cannot deny a signal that is already too clear. Remember, micro-alignment is the bridge, and gratitude is the light that shines on that bridge. When you steadily take each small step with gratitude, you are not only changing your state, you are reprogramming the entire inner observer. And when the inner observer changes, the outer reality must change. This is not a theory. This is the truth that operates in every breath and every small action you take. The most important thing in this journey is not that you once touched the new timeline, but that you can sustain it. The timeline does not change just because you wait long enough. The timeline changes when waiting is no longer the frequency you emit. When you live as if you already are, when you no longer wait, no longer set conditions, the new timeline automatically becomes your reality. The power is not in a fleeting moment, but in sustainability, in your ability to keep your entire system coherent day after day. Sustainability means you do not visit the new timeline and then return to the old one, but you step in and stay. It is not a passing experience, but a lifestyle. And that lifestyle is built from small habits, steady choices, and vibrations that are maintained. When coherence becomes normal, when coherence becomes the foundation, you no longer have to struggle to hold on to the new timeline because it has already become the place you belong to. A clear roadmap for maintaining the new timeline can begin the moment you open your eyes. Each morning, instead of rushing into work or checking your phone, you tune, you adjust your frequency, ask yourself, what frequency do I choose to carry today? Will I step into the world in fear or in trust, in lack or in gratitude? That small question sets the foundation for your entire day. Then, in every action, embody the version you want to become. If you choose the timeline of abundance, act as one who already has abundance. If you choose the timeline of love, act as one whose heart is already open. If you choose the timeline of health, act as one who has already healed. This embodiment does not need to be grand. It only needs to be steady and truly come from your new version. At the same time, you must train your ability to regulate emotions. Life will still bring challenges, and your nervous system will sometimes react as before. But what makes the difference is not that you never fall into fear or anxiety, but that you return quickly. When you know how to breathe, how to reconnect, how to keep stability in your body, you cut off the old signal and maintain the new frequency. And it is this repeated return that locks the new timeline in place. Another element that makes sustainability easier is community. When you surround yourself with people, symbols, and spaces that share the same frequency, you are reinforced, reminded, and supported. You do not have to fight the old habits alone, but you have mirrors and support that help you maintain coherence. And finally, remember gratitude. Gratitude is the strongest amplifier for every timeline. When you are grateful, you send out the signal that I already have, I am already full, and the quantum field has only one option: to mirror that fullness back. To make everything practical, try a small challenge in the next 24 hours. Choose one real action that comes from the version you want to become and commit to it. It could be 3 conscious breaths before a decision. It could be paying money in trust. It could be smiling and opening your heart in a conversation. It could be taking care of your body as if it were already healthy. No big action is needed, only real and consistent ones. And when you do that, you have shifted. Sustainability is not a destination. It is the journey you repeat every day. Each morning, tuning your frequency. Each embodied action. Each return when old emotions arise. Each symbol and supporting community. Each moment of gratitude. When these things become your lifestyle, the new timeline is no longer a dream. It is the only reality you are living. I want to send my deepest gratitude to you who have walked all the way here. Your presence is proof that you truly desire change, that you truly dare to step into the journey of awakening. Every moment you spend listening, reflecting, and trying to apply is you planting seeds for a new timeline. I am grateful for your attention, grateful for your trust, and grateful for allowing me to accompany you in this moment. I wish you the courage to return every time you slip, the patience to keep choosing the new timeline even when evidence has not yet appeared, and the gratitude to make change sustainable. Because you deserve to live in the fullest version of yourself, and that timeline is waiting for you right now. If you find this content valuable, I invite you to subscribe to the channel. That not only ensures you will not miss the next sharing, but also lets me know that you are here, walking alongside. Your support is the great motivation for me to continue creating these messages. Once again, I sincerely thank you and send you wishes of peace, fullness, and sustainability in the timeline you have chosen for yourself.